Balancing motherhood and leadership, by no means an easy feat. And joining us in studio this morning is the Honourable Ayanna Webster-Roy, Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister and also in the Central Administrative Services Tobago, Gender and Child Affairs and the National AIDS Coordinating Committee. Good morning, Minister, and welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity. It's such a pleasure to be among such beautiful, intelligent women today.
You can come back anytime. An absolute honor and a pleasure.
It is, for sure. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. And I feel like we don't have enough time this morning because we could speak about this for hours. The three of us sitting down, we could go on for hours. But let's get into something that is always a point of interest, especially as a mother. How did you get into politics, and when did you get into politics?
That's a very funny and interesting story. I remember I was in charge of community development in Tobago. So my background is community development. I'm passionate about community development. And one of my officers at the time came into the office and he started talking about something. I'm like, what? That's happening? He's like, yeah. And I was getting all emotional. He's like, well, you weren't there for your voice to be heard. And I was like, not taking him seriously. And that was around 2014. And then coming up to 2015, he's like, you need to go and get involved. You need to go and get involved. But I'm by nature very reserved. I'm very, very shy. And took the opportunity, went to scream at the People's National Movement, and I've been fortunate that the people of Tobago East would have, since 2015, seen in me an excellent representative and given me their vote of confidence, not once but twice. And I'm very fortunate that I serve the people of Trinidad and Tobago as part of the People's National Movement government under the Honourable Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. And interesting story is that when I first got into politics, my youngest child had just turned 3 years old. So he was with me throughout the campaign period on the trail. He was the one who was knocking on doors because, as I said, I'm shy. Knock on doors and people come out, this is my mommy. Vote for my mommy. And he has always been there. Every campaign, when I look at the transition from 2015 to 2020, in 2020 he was the one with the big flag waving and dancing, you know. I'm really, really blessed.
Well, we are fortunate then to have you make the time and space for us. But that is a massive portfolio, as you mentioned, from Tobago to Trinidad. How do you manage the tasks between the two isles?
You have to have a really strong team. You have to be able to balance and prioritize and strategize, and you have to be able to trust your circle. And I'm very fortunate that I have a very powerful circle, not just within the home, because my children are very resilient and they are very independent to a sense. They don't have to depend on mommy too much. They're accustomed to having to do things on their own, and they've grown up with the support of my husband. I cannot credit my husband enough for the support. Kevin is an excellent dad. So when I have to work, I don't have to worry about the parenting aspect too much, because I know Kevin is holding down the fort. And again, that extended circle, my parents, I have the best mother-in-law. The best mother-in-law anybody could ask for. She is a gem. I have my team at the constituency office, so they help to hold on the fort in terms of constituency work. And then again, my support staff at the ministry. And I have been very fortunate that throughout the years that I've been assigned really good PSs who have been willing to work with me, so it makes the job a whole lot easier for me to be able to focus on the aspects of gender and child affairs, which is nationally scoped and based in Trinidad, and then focus on the central administrative portfolio, which is Tobago-based, and under that we have Meteorological Services Tobago, as well as the Registrar General's office in Tobago. So having a support network helps me to really balance it, but again, credit to the children. My 3 children are very, very resilient. And just Sunday, we were taking the eldest daughter to the hairdresser to get her locks redone. And I said, you know, sometimes I feel so inadequate as well. I'm not here enough. And she said, Mommy, you know, my teacher said you have good parents. I'm like, why? She said, because I've dealt with other politician children over the years. She said, but you're humble. You have manners, you're well behaved, nobody would think that that's exactly, and I felt really, really good. It gave me a bit of reassurance that I needed to know that despite what is happening, that I'm raising decent young people.
Recently, I think, actually earlier this week, you were at the UN event, And you said outright, we will always build up our children and create space for them to be happy, healthy, meaningful contributors to our national development. And you saying this confidently about the children of the nation and not thinking that of your own children is a little bit discrediting to yourself. Why is that?
I remember sometime I said, that I'm so busy trying to fix the nations, make sure that we have right systems in place in the nations too. So I tend to get very focused on work at times. And then I'll forget, okay, when you're trying to fix the hundreds of thousands of children out there, you still have to make sure you mind your business. And I remember one time, and as I said, my children are very resilient and they're very independent. I remember one time, my daughters pulled me square. I've raised them to be very vocal, to be able to share confidently how they feel. And I remember this, I think it was Kiona, she said to me sometimes, she said, Mommy, it's all well and good getting the nice stuff, but sometimes we just need you to be present. Just be present. And that was a wake-up call for me. And I decided to change my strategy. So if I know I'm in Trinidad all week and the weekend is coming up, I'm going to prioritize my children for the weekend. And I want to tell all mothers out there, no mother is perfect, and motherhood is an ongoing learning process. We learn every day, we grow every day. We just have to be willing to be open to the constructive criticism, even from our children. Be confident that we're giving our children the tools that when they confront us with the reality, that we should be able to embrace it and then reflect and change strategy. And when my daughter said that to me, I said, you know what, Ayanna, you need to get yourself in a gear and start doing things differently. And I've seen the change. Yeah. I've really seen the change. And this might sound strange, but I tell people COVID was a blessing because it allowed me to pull back and be at home, that lockdown period. Even though we, as an elected representative, I still had to be out and working, it gave me that additional time to be at home, and I built back that bond. So now my daughters are like my friends. Yeah. I think that they feel comfortable to talk about anything with me. So sometimes their dad's like, I hear that conversation, wow. They will give me all the tea. Yeah. So we will discuss anything, and I'll give them that confidence. Don't be afraid. Come and talk to Mommy.
Beautiful.
But that doesn't mean that I don't discipline, and I'm not strict when I need to be strict. It's just balance. That's important.
It is something that's so important, and it's beautiful that you have such an amazing relationship with your children, and something that many, of course, do aspire to. And that's the beauty, I think, of the mother-daughter, mother-son relationship, that you can get to that space where you can be friends, but also be a great disciplinarian as well. But when you were speaking a little bit earlier, the emotion was palpable. It was amazing to see the pride in your face and the love as well that we see that is not just for your children, but for your community as well. Let's go back to your relationship with your mother. How would you say that influenced your relationship with your children?
So, me and my mom have a very strange relationship. I look too much like her. But the funny thing, I often tell people, some of my greatest strengths I would have inherited from my mother. My mom is very resourceful. My mom is a strong advocate. So by nature, she's quiet. But don't step on the children's toes. Then you will see the real beast coming out. Don't try to take advantage of her circle, of her family. Then you will see the quiet, reserved lady being very, very vocal and very, very, some people might say confrontational, but I think that that's not the right word, but a very good advocate. So I would have developed that, as I said, despite my quiet nature, if I need to advocate for something, I'm not afraid to step outside of the box. My mommy is a jack of all trades. My mom is a cobbler, she's a seamstress, she's an interior designer, she's an excellent cook. I haven't picked up everything, but looking at her and looking at her manage a household, just like me, 3 children, 2 girls and a boy, similar age difference between the children as well. And to see my mommy move from a housewife to a working mom, and then seeing her now in her retirement age, supporting my sister and her children, and still being able to do that with such grace, despite the fact that sometimes I tend to be a little rude, I want my mommy to know that I'm extremely happy that she's the mom that I have and that I've learned from her. So I might not be able to fix a shoe, I might not be able to sew, but I could take seemingly nothing in the cupboard and whip up a meal quickly. I might not be able to sew curtains, but I might be able to, whatever curtains I have, move it around so I wouldn't have to spend money on another set. So I've learned that to be very resourceful for my mom and my bonus mom, my mother-in-law. You see, I've looked at, we call her Joan. I've looked at Joan loving her sons unconditionally, but not to the point where that love causes her to be blind towards disciplining them. So I say, if I need to go to about an issue, I know she's on my side. You know, a lot of women who are married can't say that about their mothers. Right. I know if there's an issue, I could reach out to her. So that's strong support, and I learned that from her. That, you know, you can love your children unconditionally, but still be strong enough to discipline them and to point them back in the right direction. I want to give as well my mother-in-law that credit, you know, for raising such wonderful sons, especially my husband, you know, and giving me the courage to look at and emulate some of her traits, her positive traits. Yeah.
I really, truly admire the beautiful relationships you hold with both your mother and your mother-in-law. Interestingly, did you realize that you say mommy when you spoke about your mommy?
Really?
It's so adorable. But that means that, as you said, you've learned things from them and you took things from both of them. If you had to describe, though, or be described by your daughters and son, how do you think they would describe you as a mother, though?
Crazy. No, I'm being genuine.
Yeah.
I sometimes my Keiko, that's the younger of the two girls, sometimes say, Mommy, all your screws in the right place, because I like to have fun with them. So sometimes I would come home and I would just start to dance upon them and be like, Mommy, And I'm like, oh gosh, I tried to make TikToks and they're like, Mommy, cringy. But my son would describe me as a nurturer. I tend to, I don't know, because he's a boy and he's the last, I tend to cuddle him more, you know. So when I come, like today, I've been in Trinidad all week, since Sunday. When I go home today, I know Kamala would come, and at some point in time, the both of us might either fall asleep on the couch or he might come in my room and we'll cuddle a bit. Sometimes when I'm going out in constituency and if he doesn't have to go to school or anything like that, he will come and help me distribute hampers or visit schools or whatever. So he would describe me as a nurturer. My first daughter, Kiona, would describe me as a disciplinarian. She's the firstborn, just like I am the firstborn. So I expect her to set an example for her younger siblings. She must be the one that thinks, okay, this is the standard that has been established. We need to excel at school. We need to excel in terms of our, or not only academics, but in terms of our extracurricular activities. But most importantly, we need to look at our elder sister and know that within her we can see somebody who is upright. So I tend to be very strong in terms of how I will discipline Kiona, but not to make her feel as though she's inadequate. I would say, Kiona, remember, you have to set the tone for your brother and your sister. If we're not here, you are the one who have to be taking charge of the family. So God forbid, Mommy and Daddy, something happened, Keiko and Kamali, they have to look at you and you have to be there. So I tend to be a little firm with Kiona, but if you put all of them together and ask them, describe your mommy, the three of them will say, Mommy, kind of crazy.
As you said, you know, just being authentic, and we appreciate it so much, because at the end of the day, we can all identify with that, whether when we were younger and Mommy would do something and you'd be like, this is not such a great idea right now. But one of the things that you shared with us really this morning is how packed your schedule is, and the fact that you still have that time to be with family and your core community. So when do you take the time for yourself, and how do you take the time for yourself?
You have to squeeze it in. As a mom, you just have to find the little moments to do things that really nurture you and to rebuild the inner you. So I love to read. And whenever I read, I am transported to, I tell people I've visited every country in the world just by reading. I've experienced everything just by reading. I like food. I was telling my PA this morning, coming out, I said, I saw a restaurant, it's like, oh, there's a Thai restaurant, I have to try that out. So I said to her, I'm a foodie, no shame in that. And just by reading books, sometimes I think that I've tasted every cuisine. So that helps to kind of ground me. And I'm a very spiritual person. So in my quiet moments, I think that's why they say I'm crazy to it. I tend to talk to God. And sometimes in talking to God, I might talk to God aloud. Yeah. I might have conversations. I might be in the bathroom, I'm having a conversation with God and I'm just talking, and if you hear me and that's your business, I am having that time to build back and to give the inner Ayanna some strength to face the week and to move on. And I like to dance and sing, but I can't dance and sing. So that's part of the crazy. So I put on music, and when I cooking, I break it down. When I say break down, I mean real break it down. My daughters told me recently, Mommy, we sick and tired of Chelsea. I hit and run just because of you. They say, kill that song, they kill that song.
Chelsea, hit and run.
And my husband's like, he said, that song even apply to you. You hit and run in no way because you don't tie down with 3 children.
Well, the way you described motherhood this morning, we know you don't feel that way. And I really thoroughly enjoying this conversation. I want to ask one more thing before we try to wrap things up. In terms of milestones and momentous moments, I imagine you have quite a few because you've described an incredible experience with your children. But with each of them, the 2 girls and the boy, could you perhaps pinpoint moments that carry you along on the stressful days? You think of these milestones that you were there to experience with them, and it makes you remember how good of a mother you are.
When Kiona had a graduation, she graduated from 5th form last year. She's now in 6th form. And she was walking across to collect her awards. I felt a deep sense of pride. And I'm getting a bit emotional because to know that she was able to do so well, even with me not being constant, I felt really proud. Keiko made the national team for netball. I haven't seen her play in person at a big competition, but Keiko continues to excel on the netball court. And Kamali, I tell people, Kamali is such a powerful soul. I took Kamali to work with me a couple of weeks ago, and I felt such pride looking at him in the parliament. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Because he was actually paying attention to the debate, and he carried on a conversation with me after about what was happening, how he felt. And, you know, those moments. Sorry.
No, don't apologize.
I'm sure their mothers looking on, similarly thinking of moments like that and aspiring towards those ends. So it is quite fine. We appreciate it. And again, we are very honored that you're here sharing this insight with us. In terms of Mother's Day altogether, though, do you know the plans they have for you just yet?
We're not big on celebrating those type of days, you know. We try to just live in every moment that we have together. So nothing fancy, but I promise to, I bought some tickets for a very fancy concert that's happening in Tobago for the weekend. So just Sharon Phillips and everybody on the team, well done, Elevate. My mom is going to go. I bought a ticket for my mom and my sister to attend. I may attend with them, but just being home this weekend, I'm appreciating that.
Definitely. And that's one of the joys of it, as you said, enjoying every moment, but also taking some time out to just be with the family and friends. Minister, do you have any messages for mothers out there, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but the world who are watching today?
Don't be hard on yourself. It's an ongoing learning process. It's an ongoing journey, but don't be too hard on yourself. Every day is an opportunity for you to be a better mother, to learn from your mistakes and to grow to be a better person. So just go forward with grace, knowing that at the end of the day that you're doing your best and that God has got your back. Trust in God.
Beautiful words. Thank you ever so kindly, Minister. Not just for making the time for us with your busy schedule, but for sharing with us that beautiful insight and inspiring mothers across the globe.
Thank you.
A pleasure to have you here with us. We're talking how she balances her immaculate portfolios and motherhood. Thank you very much to the Honourable Ayanna Webster-Roy, Minister in the Central Administrative Services in Tobago, Gender and Child Affairs and the National AIDS Coordinating Committee, joining us this morning on the Now Morning Show. And we say Happy Mother's Day in advance to you.
Thank you. It was just really fun.
It was fun.
Glad you enjoyed. Guys, we're going to have more celebrations of mothers after the break, so stick around. Giveaways coming up too.